Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the Mars retrograde. And so, this entire video will be about Mars retrograde. Mars is retrograding June 26th through August 27th, 2018. And so, we are going to take a look at some of the archetypes for this retrograde, and I have so much to talk about today, so I'm really excited. For those of you who are new to this channel and to this platform, we look at many things through the astrological platform, and so we are bringing in. I like to work with the esoteric wisdom. I like to work with the mysteries of the divine feminine as well as the divine masculine. We work with alchemy. We work with, I especially like to work with the archetypes of consciousness, the 22 divine archetypes of consciousness, and look at um, how they are dancing in the sky. I call it the theater of life. What is the Shakespeare play this week? And what are we seeing in the projection of our own psyche and what is being mirrored back to us? There's so much. Astrology and all of the different various things that I just mentioned are such a beautiful way to understand this journey of transformation that we're all on. And so, if for any reason you can't hear me, let me know. It looks like the mic is on. It looks like the camera's working. But I'll be looking over for the live stream for people who are seeing this as a live stream. I'll look over every 5 minutes or so. And so, if you could put questions in caps, I'll be able to see them a little better. And I look forward to doing that. So we are meeting every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I invite you, if you're seeing this video as a playback, I invite you to join us on the live stream every single Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's really, I wanted it to really just be a place where we could kick off the weekend and where we could get together and meet and talk about some of the things that we're experiencing in our lives right now. Huge transformation of consciousness is taking place in the world. And I've heard from many of you about things that we're going through, things that are shifting in our lives, spiritual things that are happening to us and that we're taking part in. And these are just transformational tools that are meant to be a support. It's meant to be supportive. It's meant to be really help us to find positive change in the world. There's so many things we could talk about that are negative, and I have no problem with going there whatsoever. I've done it in many of my podcasts, and so we've got plenty of that, and we need to look at it because we need to see how. And Mars retrograde is the perfect time for that. We need to see how it's affecting us, but then we have to. The most important part with all of it is to find our place. This is the message for the video. Find our place in the world. Find out what we are here to do. And I said this in the last video, and a lot of people wrote that they liked it. I got a lot of emails about this. Be in your step. Find your place and be in your step. It's the best way to navigate Mars retrograde energies is to be in your step. Be in the place that you've come to. Own your destiny. Own your place in life. When we are in our place in life, it is much less tempting. Yeah, it's much less tempting to fall into the shadow aspects of Mars. And so I want to tell you something kind of funny. I think that's it. But subscribe to the channel if you're interested in our weekly get-togethers. I think they're going to be really nice. And subscribe to get notifications, just as a reminder every week. Or sign up for my newsletter, and we'll keep in touch that way. I have a link to it in the description box under the description of the video. So we're going to talk about, okay, this is the funny story I was going to say. So I almost named the video Mars retrograde, power, sex, and war. And I actually, I put that in the creator studio on YouTube. I put it out there, posted the video as Mars retrograde, power, sex, and war, because it was just so obvious. I mean, these are the archetypes of Mars. Mars is about power. Mars is about sex and sexuality and passion and drive and everything to do with the sex force. sexuality and the desire force. Mars is the red planet, it's the planet of desire and war. Mars rules war. And so it rules blood and war and weapons. And so I put that up, and then about a half hour later, all of a sudden, I got that kind of vibrating in the heart, and all of a sudden, I knew I wanted to change it. And so the message that came through me was, "No, no, make it about the divine feminine. Make it because Mars is retrograding and because Mars is going inward, and we'll talk about what Mars retrograde really means. This is a time to talk about Mars in its feminine polarity as the Kundalini, as the Shakti force, as Mother Shakti, as Adi Shakti, as the fire of creation. It even corresponds to the Hebrew letter Shin. It's a letter of fire, and it's Shakti, truly. And we talked about Saturn in the last video a lot. And we talked about Saturn in its feminine polarity as well. And a lot of people wrote Saturn, the association with Saturn as the father and the father of time and Chronos. And this is absolutely true. In our exoteric mythology, in our teachings in 3D, we talk a lot about the masculine version of Saturn as well as the masculine version of Mars. Mars is the divine masculine. Mars is Aries and in Scorpio, and Mars rules war and power and our drive and our willpower. But these archetypes are so layered, and this is where I've spent years and years in my work exploring them. They are multifaceted and multigender, and as they go up the dimensions, the genders, the polarity alternates. And so this is the esoteric wisdom. So we work with the exoteric teachings, and on this platform we're going to be working a lot with the esoteric, some of the deeper wisdom, the symbols and the truths, the archetypes, the language, the Hebrew letters, all of it from the mystery schools that deal with the true power that in our ascended state we will be accessing. Oh, I love it. Mars corresponds to the heart in Chinese medicine. Yeah, it's because it's desire, and it's red too, it's blood. So, all right. Okay. So let's see what we'll do. I'll give you an idea of where we're going to go in this next 30 minutes or so. So we will talk about, first of all, the message, be in your step, find your place. The reason I wanted to say that I originally named this video Power, Sex, and War is because when we are in our place, when we're in our true place in life, when we know who we are, when we're busy about our business, when we are doing what we've come to do, we're far less likely, because it's fulfilling. And then we receive the stream of our soul and our higher self. We're far less likely to even want to bother with out of balance power, or anything domineering or anything that's aggressive or taking power from another. We're far less likely um, to deviate in the way we use our sexuality. Meaning, and I've done years of podcasts on sexuality. I will say that with sexuality, there are as many different kinds of sexuality as there are humans on this planet. We each have our own personal relationships with sexuality. So when we talk about sexuality here and in all my previous podcasts and videos, it's never about judgment or saying that there's one way for everybody, but we talk about sexuality that promotes life, that promotes creativity. This is the Kundalini force that promotes union, spiritual union, sacred union with the divine, sacred union of our own inner masculine and feminine. So we're talking about the power of sexuality to have knowledge of our inner landscape, knowledge of our partner's inner landscape, and knowledge of the divine world through the understanding of that power, as opposed to some of the abuses and exploitations we're seeing of that on the planet. Now, with Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio, with everything that's happening, there's so much happening this summer, so much. 3 more eclipses coming, big things happening, and we're doing a lead in to all of that today. Sexuality is being reworked. So Jupiter is in the sign of Mars, Scorpio, reworking our relationship to the collective sexuality. Jupiter is retrograde right now. It stopped at 13. 13 is the archetype of Scorpio. I love it that it stopped at 13. 13 is death, and it's noon, the Hebrew letter noon, but it's also the archetype of Scorpio. So the death archetype governs Scorpio. Jupiter planted itself right at 13, and which tells us something. Mars is at 9 degrees, which tells us something. All of this is the feminine language of creation that we read when we look at these things. So we're reworking our sexuality on the planet, and then there's war. All of us are constantly involved in our own wars. We have wars that we fight within our own consciousness. We have wars that we take place in our relationships. So we all have a place that we take with war in our life, in our personal life, and then the we have war on the planet, and there's so much that can be said about that. But when we relate to Mars now as the Shakti power of the Divine Mother and the Holy Spirit, and Mars on the tree of life sits right under Saturn. So Saturn is right there in Binah, and we have Mars in Gibora, and it is it's like it's one octave down from Saturn. It's on that, in that dark pillar, the pillar of severity, and so it's definitely aligned with bringing in the fire of the Divine Mother. And so we're going to talk more about that. Um, oh, I wanted to say this. I found this quote. I have yes. So this is a Rumi quote. Set your life on fire and seek those who fan your flames. So this is Rumi. As I've and I have a few really nice quotes for this podcast today, and I'll say a couple of them at the end. Fire is Mars, and Shakti is Mars, and Kundalini is fire, and so this is the fire energy of the mother. When we set our life on fire, finding those, this was an interpretation that was kind of given to me right before I started the video. Finding those who fan our flames can be seen in two different ways. And I see this quote, it's always all over social media. Fanning our flames, finding those who fan our flames can mean a couple different things. We often think of it as finding our tribe, or finding our lovers, or finding our soul family. And this is absolutely right on, that we're meant to find those people who we get validation from. That will fan the flames of our heart, of our passion, of our creative energy, all Mars. However, when I was taking notes on this today, it immediately um, was shown that those who fan our flames are also those people who we are meant to serve. And so we're going to talk a lot about service today, because the best way to use this fire energy is to be who you are, be in your step, find your place in life, create. Mars is divine passion of creativity. So is Venus. We'll talk about the Mars and Venus, how they collaborate. And once you're creating, find the ways that you can serve. This is one of the best ways to navigate the energies that are of transformation, that are active. Mars is the tower, and without a doubt, Mars is going to disintegrate any of the old ways of consciousness and our personal consciousness that no longer serve us. And so we have to, if we're busy about our creative business and doing what we've come to do, it will be easier on us. We're going through many transformations, especially over the summer. And so serve. We hear about service all the time, but serve by bringing what you're meant to bring to the world. And when we serve, serving is very humbling. So that's when we learn about power, but we learn about it from the inside out, rather than being aggressive or assertive with our Mars energy. We become humble. We bow to our own gifts within, and we realize, because we have to learn. When you serve people, there's a lot of learning that comes with serving people. You go out with a really good attitude and meaning to do well, but in service, we also learn lots of things about ourselves and about other people. Service really teaches us about all of the esoteric laws of creation. So it's profound. And that is one of the fires that Rumi was talking about, is find ways to light your heart on fire and serve this creation. All right. So as always, I'm jotting things down up until the very last second before this video starts. It's so funny. Another thing is that after I named the video, I was doing some weights. I do a few weights every day, and I was standing next to my bookshelf, and all this is when all of a sudden I got the message, no, make this about divine love, the fire of divine love, and the retrograde energies of Mars and the influence it's going to have on us with love. And all of a sudden I looked up Mars's fire, and there was a book right in front of me as I and then there's like 100 books on the shelf that said love is a fire. It's this beautiful book. And it says love is a fire, and it's about the Sufi's mystical journey home. And so it was so beautiful, and it was so aligned to all of a sudden see love is a fire. Right as I got the message to make this about the Shakti force. The Shakti is that it's the energy of life and creation. It's the light that fuels our existence, and it's the light of nature. Nature is Shakti energy vibrating. So we're going to start to take this in a little bit different direction. I talked about perception a lot. We talked about the Capricorn full moon, which was, by the way, I hope everyone enjoyed that full moon. We had a massive thunderstorm here in the middle of the night for me, right when the moon was full. Such a big thunderstorm, cracking thunder, some of the loudest thunder I've ever heard, which the thunder is the tower and is Mars. And we'll talk more about that. The tower is the lightning bolt of the awakening consciousness that we're talking about. So let's look at the Mars archetype. Mars, we talked about Saturn a lot last time, and Mars and Saturn are working together because Mars is going to retrograde back into Capricorn. It made its tour through Capricorn, but it's going to be going from 9 degrees Aquarius back into Capricorn, where we have Saturn and Pluto. All of this transformation, massive transformation. Mars is also going to be trining Uranus in Taurus, and Saturn is trining Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus in Taurus is active transformation and revolution and change and genius happening on the earth. In 2 weeks, I'm doing a video dedicated to Uranus and Taurus. I know it's been there for a while, but we're going to go deep with that because Uranus and Taurus for the next 7 years, as we all go through this ascension process, is going to be huge, huge. And so Mars and Saturn are often considered. Oh, I love it, Danielle. Nice to see you. Yeah. Yeah, it means Mars is right next to you right now at 10 degrees Aquarius. You've got Mars at 9 and it's planted down for a while. So yeah, that's going to affect you. Mars and Saturn are often seen as malefic planets that can come in and just rock our world, not always in the way that we want it to. So they're karmic planets. Mars is a karmic planet in all the teachings, in the esoteric as well. Even though we need Mars and we need Saturn to awaken, we have to have those energies. We want to have a good Saturn and strong Mars in your chart because which I, by the way, have Mars retrograde. We're going to be talking about that. I'm very familiar with Mars retrograde energy. Mars and Saturn are teachers and they're karmic, meaning they will bring us face to face with our karma. They will bring us face to face to where we have to look at what we have put out into the world collectively and individually. And so sometimes we fear them because we've all done things. We all know we're going to have to face our creations at some point. This is a good thing. And what I wanted to say about being in your step is that when we're in our step and when we're doing what we've come to do, facing karma, meaning facing those things that come back to us where we're receiving the effects of things we put out, is a pleasure. It's a creative act. And we can also neutralize it and shift our karma. Oh, I'm going to give tools at the end of this video. I jotted down a few tools, but breath, mantra, spiritual music, all of these things are things that can help us go into a state of consciousness along with service that helps us neutralize these things. But these planets are seen as karmic. And So in the masculine, oh, okay. So I wanted to say this about Mars as well. We're setting up Mars as we talk about this. Mars also governs Aries. And so this is going back to the Capricorn full moon video. We talked about vision and perception. I got a few really nice comments about that, some challenges to that as well that were very, very well thought out and very nice. But we'll talk more about perception. Mars is air is the archetype of Aries, which is in the archetypes is the emperor. It's one of our divine masculine archetypes, and it's about structure, it's about form, it's about holding space, it's about protection. In order to protect, sometimes we have to fight. Mars is the Christ force landing in 3D, right in the first sign of the zodiac, and having vision to go forward into the world to create and to live life. So Aries, people with Aries, with their sun or moon or ascendant or North Node in Aries have a calling to go forward into the world, to go forward, to trust, to have courage, and to be fearless. So this Aries energy is Mars. It's one of Mars. Scorpio is the other one. Aries and in the archetype of the Emperor, the sun is exalted in Aries, so it's very much about the light and vision. It rules the head as well. That our vision going forward determines our karma. We talked about this in the last video, meaning we take on accountability for what we envision and create, which is wonderful. We wanted it that way. We want to create so we can see back what our creations do. We want to get to know them. It's like if you're an artist, whether you're in the fine arts, the performing arts, business arts, scientific arts, whatever it is, that when you create something, you want to study it a little bit and understand the effect it has on people. It's create That's one of the joys of creating. And so, Shannon, do you have Oh, anybody can be creative. Somebody asked a really great question. Do you have to be born in a certain month in order to be creative? No. So we all have a planetary archetypes and blueprints. And if you do a single session with me, this is one of the things I do is I look at the natal chart, but I also do your archetypal blueprint. So we look at archetypes. Everyone is so unique. We all have Mars, we all have Venus, we all have Mercury, we all have all the planets, but we have them placed in different archetypes or in different signs in the zodiac. And then when I look at it from the Kabbalistic chart, there's another way of looking at it. We look at the elements as well. We have them placed in the elemental energies. So some people are going to be more creative in their mind. Some are going to be more creative in their heart. Some people are going to be more vocal and more performing artist types. Some people are going to be writers. Some people are going to be nurturers and mothers and caretakers. Some people will be warriors. Some people will be here to fight the good fight physically. As we are right now in 3D, we need to have people who are willing to protect. We've misused it quite a lot, but we need that. And so everybody, oh, great. Yeah, everybody has creativity. If you're a human being, you're creative. That's why we're here. We came to create, and we came to understand feelings and emotions. We came to understand how our feelings are creative, how our words are creative, how our thoughts are creative, how our touch is creative, how our sexuality is creative. Everything we do has an effect. That's why we talked about what the way we perceive things is helping to establish how we experience them. So somebody challenged me on reality is reality. It's not our perception. That reality is what it is. You can't bend it. You can't change it. If this event happened, it happened. Agreed. And if you want to get more esoteric, we can go into some of the higher teaching, but we won't go there right now. Reality, things do happen. They happen, but the way each one of us perceives the reality of what is taking place. And this is really, really valid at this time because so many things are happening and everyone will experience these shifts differently. The way we determine how we perceive something is based on our history. It's based on our memory. It's based on our own well of experiences. It's based on our body of pain and that underbelly that we hold of the places where we've been traumatized, where we've been wounded, where we've been abused, exploited, rejected, abandoned, all of those things. We've all got an underbelly where we carry those memories of pain. And that's what some of this Mars retrograde is about, is bringing those things out. We need to know them and see them so we can use them as our gifts. um okay, where was I going with this? Um, yes, so perception is based on our own individual story, our personal story. Some of this Mars retrograde is about lifting the veil and disintegrating some of our personal blocks and patterns so that we can have more of the universal. It doesn't mean that we're no longer individuals, but it means that some of our blocks and in our pain, in our body of pain, need to be transmuted a bit so they can become more positive. And there's a process to that, and it's a very important process that many people are going through. And this I will say is that because a lot of us are doing this work first, there's many people out there doing this work, but as these transformations come in the world, as they're speeding up, it's accelerating, we will be available to serve in whatever way we're called to serve, whether it's through art, whether it's through music, whether it's through writing, whether it's through professional services or counseling, or creating new businesses, creating new structures, regenerating religions and institutions, because we don't need to get rid of everything. They just need an upgrade or a facelift. They need to be reworked a little bit in an artistic and an intellectual way. So so our vision based on Aries can be really, and the art and the connection with Mars and Aries can be reworked, and we can go forward with confidence and courage with the vision we want. That's part of being human. There's a saying, we can be empaths, we can be very emotional, we can be spiritual, we can need our time to heal, but that doesn't change the fact that we are going to need to take action at some point in our life. As long as we're here in a physical body, as long as we're here in a physical body, we're going to have to act. We're here. We're going to have relationships. We're going to have to talk to people. We're going to have to build things at certain points, even though we know the system is a little bit fixed. We're going to have to support ourselves, or we're going to have to earn money, or we're going to have to make food, or we're going to have to take care of another human being. These are things that we do when we come into this world. We're learning new ways to access our power and our will, to align it with the divine will to do these things. But face it, there is a certain amount of work that comes with manifesting and just being in creation, period. There's times to rest, which we'll talk about at the end of this, but there's times to work, to roll up our sleeves and do it, to just get busy. So Mars is also Scorpio, with Jupiter and Scorpio during this retrograde. And Jupiter is going to be going direct, I think it's on July 10th, right before the next new moon solar eclipse. So much going on this summer. Jupiter will start to rev up its engine again. Jupiter is the wheel of fortune, and it turns things, and it gifts things and creates things. Jupiter spins the wheel of creation and helps us to create. It works with the Empress, who births reality, and manifests through Aquarius, which is revelation. We'll talk more about that because Mars is in Aquarius. So um in Scorpio, Mars teaches us about power, real personal power. And it teaches us about, oh, great. I'm glad. Thank you. And so it teaches us about how to use our sexuality to serve us for pleasure and for awakening, and how to refine it and how to go deep. Jupiter also governs, Sagittarius. So it's about philosophy and spiritual beliefs and religion and multicultural understandings and justice and all of these things that we need to have an understanding of, combined with our Scorpio power of sexuality. So we're exploring power. This is big to understand your personal power with this retrograde of Mars. We're going to be exploring our power inwardly and understanding where we need to accept more responsibility or accountability for our own power, where we need to heal our power, like perhaps where somebody's taken it. Happens all the time. And as I mentor, I work with people all the time who have had their power stripped their whole life. And guess what? That can be the most brilliant way to come back stronger than you could ever even imagine when you understand the subtleties of what has taken place. Your something inside you, it's that mother Shakti Kundalini force rises up and gives you the ability to create with it. And so obviously, eventually, we don't want to have to go through horrible things anymore. We're getting out of that consciousness, but it's going to take a while. But right now in 3D, we learn through adversity, we learn through challenges, we learn through karma, we learn through these things, and we're shifting it. We're shifting it right now. Over the next 7 years, very big shifts are occurring. So Mars is the feminine force, and on Earth, it's kind of the male force. But I want to really leave you with this divine feminine aspect of Mars as well, that it's Shakti, it's Mother Shakti, it's her fire, because the fire of creation comes from the divine mother. And it's also, Mars is extremely spiritual energy. It's a royal vibration. It's incredibly royal. When Mars is accessed through integrity and love and power, the energy you have of Mars will get you, it will get you go it will support you. When you can trust your own Mars energy, which a lot of us have had stripped, your divine will, and even your third chakra, it's higher chakras too, but the third chakra, really connecting to your solar plexus and your ability to have your own will and to execute it in the world in a positive way. You'll be supported by that energy, and you'll never have to second guess yourself. A beautiful thing right now is the reason we want to be spiritually connected is because during these transformations that we're going to see ups and downs. I won't even go there of what some of the things are that could, I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities of timelines, but there's transformation happening. And Mars governs some of that transformation on Earth, that it governs, I think it's earthquakes. I forget, different planets govern the different elements. I think Mars might be earthquakes, but I'm not sure. But and I'll come back with that next time. We're going to see some Earth changes. Hopefully nothing that will take down too many of our structures. Sorry about that. I don't know why this is hooked up on this computer at this time. So we want to trust our Mars energy. If you're a woman and you didn't feel like you got any Mars energy, cultivate it. And it's the same. I mean, some men have more Mars energy, some women have more Mars energy, some men have more Venus and Moon energy than women. So this is about, gender is very kind of fluid right now. It really is. For a while, I was kind of like, oh, we have to have the polarities, and we do. We need polarity. We need to have a certain amount of mass holding polarity for certain esoteric work we're doing and metaphysical work, and to connect on up the dimensions with the gender has a role to play in drawing things in. So there's a lot to be said about that. However, right now you may be in a masculine body and your soul and spirit energy may be operating more feminine. So there's different things happening that are creating in some confusion, but there doesn't need to be confusion. We just need to own who we are. And some women have more Mars energy, or maybe in a feminine body, a female body, but have the architecture spiritually or on the divine plane or in the higher planes of a more masculine energy that they're bringing in. So we don't need to get too worried about that. We want to respect everybody, but we want to honor, if each person honors who they are individually, we don't have to worry about the programming. It gets to all of this. I do have one important thing to say about that, but we want to just be who we are, and then throw the rest away. We don't need to have somebody tell us who we are. Find out who you are and then act on it. Don't ever look back. Be who you are. Down the road it might change. Down the road you may yes. Did you say the Tower of Power? I thought you said the Tower of Power, but yeah, the Tower of Power. Connect with the Tower of Power, connect with Shakti. Um, if we know who we are, then it's game over for the dark. Just it's sometimes we have to really stand our ground. I know I have to do that every now and then because there's so much energy. There's so much energy on social media everywhere. And that's something I do want to talk about before I close this out. We have to check in and we have to be diligent, but Mars gives us the power to be diligent, but know who you are and just be that and don't look back. We don't even have to worry about competition when we do what we do because every person in their own step, in their own place in life will be rewarded. There's nothing to worry about. It could be 50 people doing the very exact same thing. Nobody has the blueprint that you have. Nobody has the exact planetary archetypes that you have. You are you. And we're meant to sound our note in this divine symphony. And so I wanted to say that that is how we navigate the Mars retrograde. We'll talk about what's going to be happening um, with the Mars retrograde for a few minutes physically. And then we'll close out with some things. I had a lot today. I could go on. So it's divine love. The divine fire is really divine love. That's what that book showed me. That Mars is the fire. Love is fire. It's passion, and it can be used in many different ways. We're going for the higher aspects here. Um, Oh, yes, the energy of the ascension light is the sunlight fluid, it's the fire water. That fire water is very much governed part by the sun and by Mars, and so just know you wanna get your Mars energy, you wanna get your ducks in a row with Mars. Once you do, you don't have to worry, and we can face every transformation that happens both in the physical world, any earth changes, any relationship changes, work changes, any kind of changes. We could be standing in the falling tower and we would be creative. We would smile, we would have the same relationship to it doesn't mean we won't have emotions. We might cry, we might laugh, we might wanna crawl in a cave for a while. But when we get back out, we'll know that we are creative. We have the power to face anything with our creativity. Sometimes it's morning, sometimes it's evening, sometimes it's light out, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's sunny, sometimes we've got thunderstorms like we did on that full moon the other night, but we always have the sun shining in our heart. We always have the passion of the Mother Shakti force in our heart. Tune into that, and we'll be able to do anything and we'll be able to serve. And so that's what this is also about. So Mars governs business, sports, medicine, protection, sovereignty. I think we're good with that. Okay, we'll talk about some of the ways to face hard days and some of the ways to face good days. Um, just want to make sure we're not doing anything to inflict pain or to violate anyone else's sovereignty or to manipulate anyone else's mind. These are all no-nos. Or to increase somebody else's addiction. They sound familiar. I mean, this is what we get beamed at us night and day. We don't want to play to other person's weaknesses on purpose to try to bring them down or manipulate them. We don't want to knowingly take from another without having there be a reciprocity of from the heart. We don't want to be takers. We want to be takers and givers. We want to be in that flow. We don't want to ever knowingly take a child away from their purity or from their innocence in finding their own creative voice. Sometimes karma will bring us face to face with those things as children, but if we have the maturity and the spirituality and the wisdom to know better, we never want to go there. These are the things that the shadow side of Mars retrograde is really going to highlight. It's really going to highlight of those who inflict pain, those who fight wars for the wrong reason, those who violate sovereignty, manipulate minds, increase addiction, play to weaknesses. Mars retrograde will have no problem wiping these things out. It's really meant to lift the veil and it's meant to expose misuses of because Mars is the divine mother and the misuse of that energy is a violation of the Holy Spirit. Um, and we in 3D we get to do that because we have free will and we get to learn from that. So no judgment. However, when it comes wake up time, when the bells are sounding and it's ascension time, we have to wake up and face it. And so in because we're in this period right now, the Mars retrograde is meant to really shine a light on that. With Saturn retrograde in Capricorn, Mars will be joining Saturn in Capricorn. All right, we have lots of planets going retrograde, or that are retrograde. Jupiter will be going direct again, but right now, many planets retrograde. What I want to say about that throughout the summer is that it's like there's this real slowing of the energies, and it's like it's gonna go deep. That full moon went deep in Capricorn, and the Mars retrograde is gonna go deep. So it's an opportunity when that veil lifts to use Mars for spiritual growth and for real transformation. You have until to August 27th. Mars is going to square Uranus at the lunar eclipse at the end of July. That's a huge eclipse. We're going to talk about that. Of course, we'll do a video about it. In a couple Fridays. And so Mars will be squaring Uranus. Saturn will be trining Uranus. A lot of activity on Earth for that one and in our collective consciousness. But when things are slow, when things are going in reverse, it means that it's really meant to take a profound effect inwardly. It's about waking up. The inward traveling, even of the Mars retrograde, it's more accessing our divine feminine energies. So we get to go inward and really look. So pay attention to that. I would love to hear from you and hear how any of you guys are experiencing this. Here's some ways to work with these energies. All right, so this is what I'm going to recommend. This is what's happening in the world. Unfortunately, things are getting blurry, and I don't know why. Hmm. Okay, so I won't go much longer. Unfortunately, we got a little blur going. It's because I need a new computer. So I've got two Macs here. This one's been around a few years. So be kind to yourself. The waves of energy on the planet right now are very serious and severe. I don't mean to say, if you're having a good period, great. I'm happy for you, but I'm just going to tell you they come. The waves are intense. We talked about the fatigue wave. It's real, and things are changing and contracting and being dismantled on many levels. So be in the positive side of these energies and you will create. That can help your energy. So just know that. I recommend, these are a few of the things I recommend. If you're having a hard day, we all have hard days. Stop everything and just start taking care of yourself. Take a cup of tea, make a really nice cup of tea, or hey, if you drink coffee, have a really great cup of coffee. Sometimes when Mars is really revving, you want to keep it on a little bit less of a jacked up energy and a little bit more of a smooth energy. But if whatever works for you, do what you enjoy and what has that effect of creating a ritual and warmth for you. So it might be a glass of lemonade or a glass of iced tea, but having something to drink is very much a ritual that brings us into the present. Have a glass of water or a glass of hot water with lemon. But stop, catch yourself if you're having turmoil or discord with this energy, because it's going to get a little grindy with the Mars retrograde and all the other things that are happening. I recommend I chant, but and I'll give you a couple quick mantras that you can use, just simple ones. Um, because using the power of the voice and accessing the solar plexus chakra is really powerful. But music that soothes you or that takes you into heightened awareness, music is really good. Put on some music or if your energy's low and you need to get up, put on music. Use the creative gifts of this world. Music, sing, the voice, get dressed up. If you're feeling bad, dress yourself up and go out someplace and connect with somebody you love. Or go someplace like a museum. I'm so lucky. I've got Philly and New York City right next to me. I can just go right in, go to the Met, walk around, or walk around Central Park. It's like go someplace, and I mentioned those places because those places are so uplifting to my soul. Um, Go to a museum and look at art and stimulate that creative passion in your heart, like one of you was talking about, that heart energy, and then and dream about it, journal about it, and then start creating. But take care, look at beauty, visit a place you love, go to a nice cafe, meet up with a friend that you really are inspired by, read a powerful spiritual book or a scripture to get aligned, connect with your family. Something else I have to say, and then I've got to close this, but Mars also is connected to our dreams. This is huge. Some attacks are coming in dreams and very real. So in the astral world, when we travel, the Shakti force of Mars in the tower rules going into dream time. When you look at 16, when you add the 1 and the 6, we get 7. That's Neptune. The high priestess in the archetypes works through the hermit, which creates one of the awakening powers of Mars. We didn't get to this, but we're going to be blending it all summer. With your dreams, you want to bless your dreams. You want to take conscious part in your dreams. Write about it before you go to bed. Listen to spiritual music before bed. Read a powerful scripture or write something or look at something beautiful. Guard and protect your dreams when you go into the astral at night, because you want to start doing, you want to be aware of what's happening in that part of your consciousness. Very important. As we go through the eclipse season, we'll be talking about this a lot. Get things done. We're going to talk about dreams a lot more, in fact. And I wanted to today, but we didn't get to it. So make a list of something you need to do and just tackle it. Something small. If it's a day where you're not feeling good or you're really tired, make it one drawer in your kitchen that you want to clean out, or to do a little organization. Take something small and organize it. That will give you the positive side of Saturn and Mars. Mars, you're taking charge, you're taking control. It's that emperor energy of structure. Saturn is structure. Saturn is the container. If you're feeling like everything's out of control, which sometimes these energies can do, find something that you can manage and have control over. Like planning an event or planning a meal or planning cleaning something out, and you'll feel 100% better. That's that. So one of the mantras to chant for Mars is Ma. I'm just going to give Ma. I have a mantra for Saturn too, but I'll give that in one of the next videos. Ma is so simple. It's a mantra that activates water. And so if you need to neutralize the effects of this is yogic, this is Kabbalistic, this comes in many different lineages. The sound ma, it's the mother. Ma, ma, you can chant it. Maybe we'll do a little chanting next video, but chant it 3 times. Just take a moment, tune in and chant. Hold the M as long as you hold the A. So perhaps 3 counts of and chant it 3 times. That's to neutralize any negative effects of Mars. It's soothing, and it's water energy with fire energy. That's just a little tip to leave you with. Have to wrap this one up. So nice to meet with you every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And feel free to connect with me. Still taking mentoring. I still have a couple spots for mentoring. Connect with me if you would like to study with me for 3 months. Getting ready to do that in the 1st and 2nd week of July. And so I wish you all just a profound week. Next week, we'll be meeting to talk about our first eclipse of the summer. I believe it's at 20 degrees, Cancer, new moon, solar eclipse next week, 12 p.m. All right. I'll talk to you next time. Namaste.